Wow. I don't know what to say. Where do I start? What do I do? My mind has been completely and utterly blown. This weekend's Motocross of Nations was one for the ages. I don't even know where to begin. I can barely handle this much action. All I can say is, I love the Motocross of Nations.
This is the plug.
Let's try and break down all of this MX of Nations action step by step. We'll start at the beginning of the weekend and the qualification races. I watched these races on my laptop with two tabs open, one with the live timing and scoring and one with my Twitter feed on constant refresh. It's not the ideal way to do it, but it's the only choice I had. Each qualifying race offered more twists, more turns and more shocks. And I think it's safe to say that no one was more shocked to see the Aussies grab the Motocross of Nations by the scruff of the neck and dominate the proceedings going into Sunday's races. And although Team Oz didn't quite get the podium finish they were dreaming of, Dean Ferris, Todd Waters and Brett Metcalf certainly did do their country proud. It was an excellent effort from those guys, and I'm sure Mr. Reed was watching at home and feeling the patriotism, and he's going to be putting down the work to be part of the great and powerful Oz at next year's event. So we move on to Sunday and Moto number 1. The MX1 MX2 showdown. If there were to be a main event at the Motocross of Nations, this would be it. For most of the countries, excluding the few who took a slightly different strategy, this race would be the one that put their number 1 and number 2 guys against each other and the rest of the world. Not to mention the unfathomable excitement and anticipation from the riders, the teams, the crowd and everybody watching around the world. This is when everything boils over and the shizzle gets rizzle. So the gates dropped and it got so crazy it was hard to follow. Who's leading? Wait a minute, who the hell's this kid? Where's Team GB at? The Americans, where are they? Cairoli? What's he doing? It's hard to keep up. But just as the race started to settle down a little bit, Tony was out front leading by a mile. And it looked like we was going to have a nice little battle on our hand for second place between Kenny and Eli to whet our appetites when BANG! Probably the biggest and most influential moment of the weekend pretty much exploded before our eyes. 1 minute Tomac and Roxon are speeding up this hill, scrubbing the arse off this jump. Then the camera angle switches. We're on the other side of the jump. Then BAM! We see a freaking Eli Tomac flying through the air. Windscreen wipers going, proper Chad Reed style, as if he were the freaking son of Krypton. And BAM! That was that. Team USA had gone from a solid first moto result into a complete and utter disaster. Luckily though, and I mean luckily, Tomac was able to get up and ride away, which I think we can all be oh so grateful for. Let me explain. If Eli was unable to escape that crash unscathed and unable to race the second moto, then we would not have been gifted the absolutely jaw-dropping, mesmerising race of the freaking year between Kenny and Tomac in that second moto. It never really happened at the Nationals. Not like this anyway. It was the battle we have all been waiting to see all year long. The only way it could have been better was if Hurlings was there too and in the mix. My lord, can you imagine that? And I have all the confidence in the world that if Jeffrey was fully fit, he would have been right there in that battle. Anyway, back to the actual battle. You know it's a great race when as the seconds count down on the clock, your heart starts beating faster and faster. You don't want it to end. But at the same time, you don't want to see your favourite rider get past and or get beaten. It was awesome. Absolutely unbelievable that these two guys on 250s could stretch away such an immense lead over all of the 450s. This is what motocross racing should be. And in my opinion, it was the perfect result for such an intense and outstanding battle. Kenny getting the win in front of his home nation and getting 4 straight MX of Nations overall wins in the MX2 class. And Tomac putting in the ride of the Americans Day and putting in probably the only ride that would have deserved them a place on the top step, if they would have got it anyway. Antonio Cairoli. He dominated the world this weekend. There's no arguing that. No one had an answer for him. It was awesome to watch. He's such a good world champion and a great ambassador for our sport. Now, would he have dominated the world so much if Ryan Villapoto was there? It's hard to say. I guess we'll never really know. But I sure do hope that next year, or really just any time before they both retire / past their peak, that they get to race one-on-one, head-to-head, for the win, for the bragging rights as the fastest and best in the world. A race along the lines of Roxon's and Tomax this weekend. That would be unfreaking real, and it would definitely silence the USA versus Europe, the AMA versus FIM debate. Or maybe not. And finally, we make it to the final and most tension-filled race of the year. The third moto of the Motocross of Nations is as nail-biting as it gets. No one knows what's going to happen. All bets are off and everything can change in a heartbeat. And we love it. Would have loved it more if Team GB were in contention though. But nevertheless, I was still on the edge of my seat. While I was watching, I kind of wanted the Italians to claim victory. After all that Caroli has achieved, I think he deserves a Motocross of Nations win. And they definitely know how to throw a party. As the last lap board came out, we still didn't know who was going to lift the trophy. But ultimately, it was Big Kender Dyker riding the race of his life as the lone Belgian out on the track to lead his team to nation's glory. Clement de Sale must have felt like the luckiest man alive after crashing out of the third and most important moto and still being able to call himself nation's champion. All that can be said is, I think he definitely owes Big Ken a beer or two. Now, the USA. I heard in an interview somewhere, Dungey said they tried their best, but they lost. They didn't lose though. They came second. A second place at the most unpredictable, the hardest, the most luck-reliant race of the year. In my eyes, that ain't losing. I can tell you all now for sure. If Team GB had gotten second on that podium, we would all still be partying hard right now. That would have been one hell of a victory for us. Not a loss. I know it's slightly different for the Americans. They come expecting to win, but they can't be disappointed with a second place. Yeah, maybe they've been spoiled after the last few years, but still, that's no excuse for the unsportsmanship-like behaviour that they showed on the podium. If you haven't heard about this, according to reports, the US team didn't remove their caps during the national anthems and they didn't partake in the champagne celebrations. And just to be honest, watching it, you could tell that they just wanted to get out there as quickly as possible, which in my eyes wasn't very professional and wasn't very sportsmanlike. And to be honest, I was a little disappointed in the US team for that. Great interview with the man and Team USA team manager Roger Da Costa. He was brutally honest and he was brutally harsh, saying that Ryan thinks a bike's a problem, but it's himself. And then going on to say, Ryan needs to look at himself right now, and he knows that. After reading that article, I thought to myself, so who is to blame for the USA not winning? I don't actually think anyone is directly to blame. It's just things in the motocross world, they're changing. And it looks like it won't be so easy for Team USA at the MX of Nations like it has been in recent years. Probably my favourite part of the Motocross of Nations weekend every single year is the way that my timelines, my newsfeeds just blow up with hype and excitement. I love it. It's the only time in the year when all motocross fans, journalists, industries come together to show just how cool motocross is. I only wish it would happen more than just once a year. What was your favourite part of the Motocross of Nations weekend? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I've been Toofast Max, this has been The Plug, and if you've enjoyed this week's show, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And also don't forget to check out dirtbikerider.com for all of your latest motocross news. And finally, if you like what you've seen and you want to see more, click right here to see more.